Right, so I was going to try to set up these papers for you guys to work on. So let me try to do that for one, and maybe I'll add the others later on. So um, I've taken the old what's the Ousiometry GitLab repository for the paper that I'm talking about, and kind of rearranged it a little bit so you can see now there are. It's not going to be very exciting, but just trying to get this right. So we're going to have MATLAB, which is really just for me and probably 3 other people in the world, and then I just put these nominally in here, right? Haha. Yeah. So we'll see. Now I've talked with McCullough, who's our postdoc, and she's done a lot of building of some of these tools for the power and danger and structured time series things. So she's recently helped one of our honors students who's an undergrad, who's working with Danforth, and it's Stephen King's novels, right? So it's all of the time series. So anyway, so she's got a few things that, so we'll talk with her a little bit. You guys have built your own thing, so you kind of play around in there and get it to work. So as it is, of course, it doesn't have much in it. I've added, so MATLAB has everything, I sort of pushed it all into there. There's data, and I was thinking we're going to have a data one at the top, which will be just sort of universal data, right? So it's going to be text. So things for like, whatever, if you end up with pickle things or MATLAB things or whatever, they have to go in their own box, but I should make a universal data one. Okay, so let's do that. And the one thing we have to be careful with as you go along is if you have books you've unlocked, you can't put them on this, right? So obviously. So I guess a good thing to do is you have this on your machine is to just keep that data separately, keep it separate, and whatever tools you build and so on, put the outputs into this repository. So yeah, not everything has to go in there. Yes.
So this is for anything we're working on for this class?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, I think we should just keep dumping stuff in there. Yeah.
If we've already got our own GitHub repo set up,
yep, that's fine. I mean, I think what you should do is you make your own things, but if you feel like you get to having a point where this is something that everyone can use, which is the hope.
Okay, yeah, I have some things people could use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
then we could put it here, and I realize it's under my name. Well, goddamn it. Usually it should be under Storylab. How do you do that? You can easily sort of move a repository. So I'll make Storylab an owner as well. That's right. Yeah. Right. I mean, we try to do. To be honest, the motivation. I don't really. But a lot of the way that I like to frame things is kind of like The Economist, actually. I mean, that's been. Yeah. I mean, we just had this thing, but going back 20 years, looking at The Economist and thinking, I kind of like what they do, which is they're this sort of collective voice. They don't have bylines. There are no bylines in the Economist. I mean, there may be some pieces here and there where someone's written a thing, but like that piece that we were in, it acknowledges us, but there's no, the authors and the journalists are not. These are reading. The authors. I wonder why you guys were fuzzy. The authors. The journalists are not named. I kind of like it. I know it's sort of antithetical to everyone trying to be famous, and anyway, so there's sort of a little bit of like we try to keep things under our, this computational story lab framework, and we have a Twitter handle, like we tweet from that. It's sort of our little voice, right? Rather than too much individual self-promotion. Anyway, there's a limit. I suppose that anyway, that's sort of the idea. So, Kyle, I'm just saying that I've started to mess around with this a little bit. I think this is sort of reasonable, basic stuff, and so there's nothing in here, right? I just put you have to make a file so it exists, but I just put my old README structure is nodes dot whatever. So I have a lot of nodes dot whatever. Okay, so we'll build those things up, and all the MATLAB stuff is in there, and I renamed it. So now it's like lexical instruments for Ousiometry, and Telegnomics. Right, it's got a bigger thing. Why does it know all the things? Is that me? That's not me, is it? No, maybe. Oh, this is. I think this is. I think I am logged in as. Right, so I am logged in as Storylab, right? No, no. Okay, I don't know. Right, so there's that. So that's the idea. We're going to put our tools in there, and the data will go in there. I think I was just mentioning that there's data in here, but it's like this is a general one that could be piled out to a general thing. So I might do that. But this is a MATLAB horror that no one should touch, a binary file, right? What's the fun thing? Pickle, right? Pickle's the Python happy times, which no one else can open. You have to do it through Python, right? Okay. I sort of remain a fan of text files, and we've some things eventually have to put into databases, but a lot of the work we did on Twitter for a long, long time was just there were text files. Okay, so that's good. I'll put it into. I'm starting to feel better, which I described to some of you before. This is going to be good. I think this is a good thing, and so this is a long-term thing, right? I think this is the plan. We're going to build this out over time. Right. There are lots of other repositories. There's a hedonometer one, which Andy Reagan runs, and you guys have built your own things. So yeah, right. What else can I say? Okay, so the idea is, what is it? It is. I've had trouble with this laptop, so I'm trying to get it to resuscitate. Okay, so it's not this. I've lost my little world. I hate it so bad. So I'm going to go to papers, stories. I'll try to make this a little bit bigger. And this is, okay, so I've got this one. I talked about the other day. This is the part that I hadn't really gotten to. So I've renamed them. I like doing this. So it just means that if you have things floating around on your system, these aren't all called manuscript.tech or whatever. You don't have a million papers with the same name. So it's got its own little piece. So in here, there are a bunch of little make things. So some of them are like make a single LaTeX file because you need that for some places you communicate with, although I hate journals now, so I feel bad. I tried so hard, and I had this there's a sub journal formats where I kind of had all these modified versions for different journals. Anyway, make package that kind of slaps it all together. I tend to have all of my figures in other places and have symbolic links to them. So there's a thing that localizes everything. So that's this little bit of madness. You don't have to worry about this because I'm going to put it onto, and I have a universal bib file and it extracts it makes a local bibliography and all that sort of stuff. So I've kind of adapted this essentially to help with Overleaf, which is finally good enough, I think. I hated it for a long time, but it's pretty good now. Okay, so then you can see there are other directories like package, that's where sort of everything would go together. Proofs are going to be there. So it does things like, you end up with this nice LaTeX thing, and the figures will be renamed as Fig 001, Fig 002. I mean, just these little details because you want them to list in order when they go off somewhere else. Basic thing is every figure you have in a LaTeX thing, the figure itself should be one PDF, maybe a PNG, but one PDF, right? It's not like little pieces. It's a finished object because when it goes off into the world, people are going to have trouble with it if you give them, if you do some sort of clever thing of tables or some sort of crazy LaTeX thing where you make the figure within LaTeX. We tend to make it a finished object. All right. I know, madness. So figures would live in here. Correspondence, this is sending letters to journals who reject it and all this kind of madness. Okay, various other pieces. But what we need is, I'm going to remove that thing. I have this little command, remove tilde, and that gets rid of everything that has a tilde on the end of it because that's Emacs's little debris. Like it makes a little backup file all the time, so you see them everywhere. And back at MIT when I was a graduate student, this is all it is, right? It's just /rm, anything that ends in a tilde, dot, anything that ends in maybe a dot file that ends in a tilde as well, right? So it just cleans out everything. There's semicolon so that no, so this friend of mine, I told her this is useful to clean it, so she's like, oh, okay. And /rm, that's like, that takes the safety off, right? That's like, no, whatever aliases you've put for rm, just strips them away, and now you've just got this remorseless device that deletes. There's no coming back from an rm. Yeah, Unix just out of the box is pretty deadly. Anyway, she made this alias for herself, but didn't put a semicolon, and then just typed rm tilde star because it's sort of a habit, and just went, everything was gone. And I'm sure I said this too, but I remember just sitting in my this. It was a room kind of about this big. There was maybe 3 or 4 of us in it for our our graduate group, and with a postdoc, Romualdo Pastor Sotoris. I can't say probably, but he's from Barcelona. He's a funny guy, grumpy guy. Anyway, he managed to do rm minus rf star, which is recursive, in his home directory. And he's just like, we're all just typing like morons or whatever, and then you just hear this just a lot of swearing in Spanish just emerge. He's just like screaming because it's like, no. He realizes what he's done, because it's happily, just like flamethrowing the whole thing. We had nightly backups on tape, which we were all responsible for, right? Like, I ran the system, so it could be maybe not so good, right? What's that? Push to get on. Yeah, no, you got. Oh my God, if you guys don't have backups of things, please just do whatever you. So the big one for me overall is this. It's been good. Is Backblaze, and that backs up everything wirelessly all the time. It's worth. There used to be Time Machine, which was pretty good, because you get the tape one that we had at MIT. You just you just write to tape every night. It was I guess it was an async thing, so it was it was adaptive, but whatever's got, there's no. It's just last night, right? So
you just give it like a directory and just puts everything to where.
Yeah, we just had sort of this one. All our machines were just we had to make a little what is it, NFS thing. We had to get it all connected, so all the drives were cross-mounted with each other. That was the thing we ended up doing. We'd have 2 machines and they'd cross-mount like this, and have 2 drives, and this one's drive would back up, and that was an advance. And a cron tab, right? A cron job. At night, it would just go do this. And if you lost something and you realize 2 days later, game over. Anyway, Backblaze, it's not perfect, but it's, and if it all goes to hell, like you've lost everything, then you write to them and they'll send you, you get a drive, right? Because you.
Is it expensive?
I think it's horrible. I mean, I know it's money, but Jesus, if you lose this thing, Backblaze cost. We're going to see something terrible now, I suppose. Is it in trouble? Oh no, I didn't know it. Wow, they actually. What? That's amazing. $7 a month, $70 for a year. I mean, you guys are students, I know, but it's not bad. You can do it right, but it does give you memory, right? So that's nice. You can go back in time. Yeah.
So it's still storage as well. It's not like it's just like it's insurance. Where it's kind of
No. I mean, yeah. You having that memory part is good. The Time Machine was quite, lovely and whatever the thing they did, but maybe a little thumb drive on the side that's backing it up. Anyway. Okay, so I've described my RM tilde. That was exciting for you. So let's see. So yeah, there are little details. Like I made this. This is just a kludge of. This is a bib style thing for LaTeX, and it's a funny thing, but it's just a little kludge, and it means that when you cite things in the text, it will be as they appear. Like so, the references at the end will match the order in which they're cited. Make them numerical. This is just a preference, right? And then, which I do in the slides as well. I use a superscript, which obviously I spent enough time trying to make work properly. But it's just 1 through 7 or whatever, and it appears as it is in the end. But it's abbreviated, so it cleans it up a little bit. I don't know, madness. Anyway, so that's an ancient object. So in here is this one, make zip file. So we'll do that. So this is gonna, that was hopefully not inside it is like some basic stuff like zip. I think that means start again. I'm more of a tar person. And anyway, so exclude that, exclude itself, exclude any zip file it had, make this one, and then it's everything and then anything you have in correspondence, figures localized, inputs localized. So, and then when you write the thing on Overleaf, you have to, it's best to just, if you have a figure, you put it in localized and you reference it directly like this. Normally, I didn't have any of those things because I liked it to do all the finding all the time. So that's what this tech inputs. I'm showing you ancient things that no one would ever want to use anymore. But this is like tech. So when LaTeX runs, it says, okay, look for things in the current directory. Go and look in fonts if that's there. Look in figures. Look in videos. Go and look in this stuff over here. Look in this stuff. Look at my thing at the end. And then the double slash means descend. If at the very end, it's like just keep trying. So that meant you could kind of have clever things. Like so here are lectures, right? So in here there are 3,530 files, which is a little wrong, but this is what the figures directory looks like, and it's basically all these symbolic links pointing to all these other places, including past versions of the course. So it can, like there's history built into the structure. It's meaningful. Man, I'm going to get run over a bus and it's all gone. So I made a zip file and I'll just take it to Overleaf. And this is my sort of concern is I do like having, we okay? Okay, so new project, upload a project. Let me do it. It's kind of good to go between, yeah, all right. So I'd like to have this as date modified usually. Yeah, all right, so here it is. It's just a plain little blob. And we will put in here. It'll probably have all the Perl scripts and things. But anyway, so it will ignore them. Can you see this okay? All right, so it's functioning. I had to do a few things to make it work for Overleaf. Let's get rid of that. Overly wordy names, but it's okay. So, but I can tell you about some of the other weird like this little weird thing here, that will print out a number which will tell you where the start of the supplementary material is, for example, like just a tech thing.
You should open an issue and write down the workflow for doing this.
Oh yeah.
On your,
how do I do that? Oh well, yeah. Oh, open an issue. Okay.
Because
oh no, this is crazy.
Then when people search for how do you actually use this?
Yeah, I can't believe
they can find your instructions.
Well, let's see what I have in here. So this is the thing, and so it does have. I mean, it kind of does go through it actually. So yeah, so this is the README. So it's what I've tried to tell you. Make directory. Do a good thing. I kind of like to have it in there. Whatever. Yeah, this is basically get it. And then I use bin rename. I use rename to just rename. So paper template, that everything that starts with paper template, that would rename it. It's a pretty nice command to have. It's not built in for some reason, I don't think. Maybe I've got that wrong. My shell skills are, okay. They're not amazing. And then it tells you a bit about what the things are, so some of the directories. This explains the directories. It's an archive one to, put stuff that you have given. I do have a little command called archivify, which just goes and puts dates and stuff in front of them. Yeah, maybe I'm sure this needs to be updated. I'm sure it does. But, okay. So you could try to do it yourself and then tell me how terrible it is. You want to do that? I mean, why don't we do that? Because, yeah, I mean, you're welcome to, that's kind of what I hope we could do. I'm not very good at interactive courses, I suppose. I could make one here and we could have a name for it or whatever. But if you want to, all right, let's have a struggle around with that. So you can run Overleaf. You can run. You can do a Git thing with it, right? So you can have it kind of nicely work on both things, which I like. Yeah. So you can. So Overleaf is now here, and I just went dumped a zip thing in. But if you go back to, yeah, see this. So if you have this is, you can clone it.
Oh, I did not know you could do this.
Yeah, so this is important. Yeah, right. Yeah. So that feels like a nice thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, sure.
So now when Overleaf and what was it called? Smart LaTeX or something? What was it called? There were two sort of competing things online, and sort of okay, but one of them, this one, Overleaf absorbed the other one, and they got rid of the Git thing. They thought people didn't use the Git thing, and then the audience went berserk. So yeah, it was very strange to get rid of that. Anyway, so I mean, it's these are LaTeX. People are obviously maniacs already, right? Like so that's nice. So you could do this, go back, and then you could edit it happily on your own thing. Because editing in browsers is it's sort of okay, but I find the menu a little bit funny. This is new file, new folder, upload if you want to upload something. This is like go back out. Yeah. Now I'm going to rename this because this is horrendous if you look at the name. And I think I can change it here. I'm going to basically put the thing in that's there because I kind of like it. Well, let's say that. Should I do that? I'm not sure if I can put a colon in there. That would be nice. Can I do that? Telegnomics of portrait. Bit of a lowercase person, but anyway, let's see. I like it. So that's I think that's kind of nice when you go back out to. I'm a little obviously crazy, but you can see we've got a lot of different things. I really prefer this. This is when you started it, which it has a built-in shaming mechanism. But these there's no time thing there. I don't know. They're a little bit lost. I think they're a bit lost. Anyway, we've got lots of different projects. So you do have to actively rename it. That's not going to be there, right? But just to say again, and I know this is is menu feels like you would go back up to a menu, but it's sort of an extra menu for here. And so there are a few options for you. That maybe there's nothing particularly, haha. Which is the default key bindings for Mac, by the way. It's Emacs. Control A, Control E, all these things. Yeah. So sort of, I messed around. I made some title. This is not the thing, but blah blah blah. Or bananas, right? So you start to mess around with that. So, right, this is local, of course. This is the thing, and then there's all of the different things. There's a logline one, which is a little 2 or 3 sentence description, but titles hard. It's a hard thing to get to, and so a simple command to. I always get that wrong. Okay, a simple command that's added is this. Boop. Right. Let me go back to this one. Do things. Right. So I have a little way of opening up a shell script at the top of any of one of these things. This is just local. So you don't have to do it locally or anything, but now it's got do things is here in a nice blue font rather than. And there's one little other piece in here, which is, if you see I do have this structure that goes all the way through it because I feel like every paper, if you need to combine it with other papers, it's, again, good to have something special built into it so that they're not all like figure 1, figure 2, figure 3 introduction. So even here's a label for the introduction, right? And it says section. So the structure of this is, here's the overall thing, section. There's one here for fig, it's figure, like table would be tab. And then there's a tag for the paper in particular, and then whatever you want to put here, introduction, right? So that makes sense. So I'm going to replace paper tag. There's a little note at the top. There's a couple of little reminders at the top. Paper tag, we'll change that to, I'll call it Telegnomics. This is where I need to put my glasses on, Discworld. I'll just call that. So that's going to be, I'm going to actually have that in every label all the way through. If I reference something, it'll have this blob, and that just helps if you go out to more stuff. Like if you put 3 things together in a thesis, or 4 things, or 5 things, there's something a little special about the internals. I realize a colleague of mine has written books using my mechanism. I've written proto books, but it's a nice thing. So, all right, we've done that, right? See, helps with distinction for inclusion in other documents. But it's gone. So that's done. And then off you go. And so the to-do thing is like, as you sort of think about it, it's like, oh, to do, paragraph on blah, 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 blah. And you kind of write that, right? On, the Discworld. I don't know, something. You're thinking about, and you start to lay out a bunch of to-dos. You kind of structure it like, okay, I'm going to do that. And I think I have another slightly different command in there, which is in settings. If you go look in settings, there's a paragraph one. So there's to-dos and paragraph nutshell. Yeah. So we could do that. So paragraph nutshell, I'll give it the same thing. So that might be helpful too. Like you could just say, oh, here are all the paragraphs. It's a slightly different color. So paragraph, paragraph, paragraph. And then in principle, you fill it in. You can write however you want, but this is sort of maybe just a little useful tool. On your local system, it probably won't work. You're probably missing things, but every time I run it, I know I've showed you this, but here it is. In log, in the little log thing, there's going to be, right? So it's just recording what's going on. It counts how many to-dos there are and stuff like that. Yeah. So, right, you Telegnomics, Lamore, data, community, just give it that and kind of have that texture through it. The thing is, of course, I want to put it on. That was the problem. I have to put it on Overleaf. Do you have Overleaf accounts? So make an Overleaf account. There's a limit to what you can do if you just you don't pay, but we'll make Storylab a co-owner or the owner, and then it's good. Yeah.
You might get an account through anyway.
Okay. Good.
We're checking. I have a big memory that that's true.
You mean, they'll pay for it, like because you have a uvm.edu. Yeah, okay. Amazing.
I could be wrong, but I might have understood it.
I don't know if UVM is through IBM, so let's see right now.
But anyway, we want to make it a co-owner with the Storylab one too. So the way to do that is you set it up and then you invite Computational Story Lab as an owner, and then it will pop up. It's not super smooth, but basically, if you tell me we've done that and I go back to here, see, I keep pressing the wrong thing. If I go back to here, it will have some notifications at the top. There's like wants to share with, that kind of thing. Maybe that's all we need. If you want, I could make one for you now. I could do that. I mean, I can make the thing and upload it. Well, what I mean is I could make each of these papers from my machine. All right, good. Okay, good. Good. Of course you do. You should do that. I'm terrible. Good. All right. So, but I think we have the sort of the process. You have to have Overleaf. Make your own. You'll be the owner. But okay, let's talk about that a little more. So once you're in the thing, if you go to up here, there's a couple of things up here. There's submit is supposed to be like you could. This is in principle for a long time in the future. But submit. This is what I think they should be able to do, submit it to a journal. And a big piece of like, of course, I don't know if this will ever work, but this is like code, right? So the idea that there is all these separate pieces means that if a journal comes along and has its own wrappers, then it should be trivial to do, right? That's what you should be able to submit it to any journal as long as they've got the LaTeX thing. So, you know, there are a number of reasons for why .body.tex has nothing else in it except the actual content, right? It means you can, I mean, it's the beauty of LaTeX. So you should, I guess I implore you to never write something that has like, here are all the settings, introductions, like, I mean, this is what everyone does this, right? 300 lines in, and it's just it's a mess. It's you're putting things together that aren't the same, you know, like it's like the Excel spreadsheets, which we were talking about, like that, right? That they have the data, the algorithms, the outputs all smooshed together, and they can be left and right and up and down, and it's chaos.
It's not every single homework for Fox One.
It's okay. I totally understand it. I totally understand it. But what happens is you move along, you sort of lift out of that, and you get the structure on it wrapped around. So that's what happens when I make a lecture. Like, there are these sort of things that just get wrapped. They're actually not even a .tex file. I just make a .body.tex file, run a thing, like a new one, and it will create those others. There are two things. There's a .header.tex file and a .body.tex file. And .header is the title, basically. That's all. And it just needed to be separate. I mean, it was helpful to have it separate. I mean, this is how the web works. This is how code works in general. It's so primitive what people still do. It's totally fine what you did. I did that for my thesis, my master's thesis, which was like hundreds of pages of continued fractions. You know what I mean? Oh, in Xedit. Oh my God! Look, I'm just. It doesn't exist. Oh, that's true. I forgot. I actually got a little carried away there. Yeah, I said it. I'm so mad at them. I mean, there are citation cartels. Like, we're at the point where we need to use terms like that because they exist. You know, like people who collude together to get more citation. The gaming of impact factors. They figured out that if you add more kind of like review things and letters to the editor, like all sorts of garbage, you get a higher impact factor. Terrible. Good. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's instantaneous. Yeah. Especially if there's money coming out of a pipe somewhere, you know, like, yeah, right. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't have any money. It's just like kudos, like people do it for fame all the time. Probably because they think there's money. But, you know, people, Xedit. Show me a picture of Xedit. This thing was so horrible. Oh, you had to actually put your cursor anywhere that you wanted to type. Like if you went out of a box, it would sort of lose focus. Anyway, I wish I could still run Xedit. It's just horrible. It had literally nothing, no capabilities. It was just text, which is, I mean, it's sort of fine. There are some super primitive editors in Unix. Okay, so I think that's sort of a little crazy. Yep, 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 yep. What else is in it? Oh yeah, so these commands up here, they're a little bit funny. It'll give you a history, so I suppose there is a stronger thing there. But share is the thing, right? So share, that command up, that little blob up the top. So you would go here and you have to turn on link sharing and share it with, I'll share it with myself, I guess. Well, I don't want to open up my passwords or something like that. Yeah. Oh, there you go, I'm there. Can edit, so I can edit my own thing. Yay. Well, let me do this. I'll see if I can log in as myself. How do I do this? Other passwords. Does it do the magic thing? So this should. Okay, see at the top, it said this is what you guys should do for Storylab, right? So it gives me this thing, and so I join the project. So now that's now I can edit this project as well. Okay, good. This is good. And the C up there tells me this is someone else who's editing it, and that's the computational Storylab. Okay, okay. This is good. This is stuff we never talk about. Like, you know, you should learn Unix or something.
How did you get this computational Storylab?
Yeah, so I did everything I was doing was in the computational Storylabs account.
Okay.
And then within that, I did this. I went to share, but from the other one. So you had to turn on link sharing, and then invited someone to a project, and I invited myself. Is it okay, Julia? Just for like just to show, I could invite. Is that right? Yeah. But I'll go back to. See, it's that one. I find that so weird. Okay, I'm going to log out of here and then log back in as the Storylab. Oh, did you see this, by the way? This is a nice thing. See that? Okay, let me do it. See the plus there? This is very important. I told you. We've talked about that. So this is an ancient Unix thing. If you have, so I'm p.dods@uvm.edu, right? And peter.dods works as well. That's what the professional thing you should use. But, you know, that's my net ID, which is always whatever, 7 max, right? At Columbia, I was PD315. At MIT, I was Dods, right? Because it was all relatively new, so you could pretty much, but you could also choose whatever you wanted. And I remember I had a student, my first recitation that I taught, who was from Vermont, which I thought was, you know, kind of this charming thing. There's got a kid from Vermont. He was on the MIT baseball team. Sorry if I've said this before, but the MIT baseball team, which also hilarious. But really like baseball, I guess. That was his email address, was baseball@mit.edu, because that was kind of like TikTok, you know, like it wasn't really, you know, sort of structured in any way. And you go to other places like I said, like Columbia, it's like, you know, it'd be JZ 412, you know, like you don't feel very, yeah. And they still do that. They did that to my daughter. Anyway, I don't know what they do now at MIT. But here's the point. The plus thing is you can put anything there. You can actually write anything there. And this is a bit of a problem with some spammy kind of things. But you can put, so if you were Carter@uvm.edu, you can put Carter plus banana pants. Crazy Town banana pants, right? And email it, and it would come to you. You'd see that because it gets stripped off, but you'd see it. So if you sign up for lots of different accounts, like, you know, I have 15 Twitter accounts that I'm part of. Each one is PDODs plus Storylab, PDODs plus Lexico Galerimeter, PDODs plus. Because then you use different email. From their point of view, using a different email address. I'm not trying to trick anything, but it's like organizational and helpful. If you give an email address to someone you think might be dodgy, I don't know why you would do that now at this point in history, but you could put, Carter plus, write some stuff, so that whenever that email address comes to you, the source was there. Just as links have all this sort of extra bits on them, so that if you pass it to someone else.
And you don't have to make actual accounts to do this.
No.
You can just say this exists.
You just put plus. The plus is ignored. Plus blah will be ignored.
But
it'll come to you, and so you'll see it.
That is a hack.
Yeah, it's very nice. I remember remembering it and thinking, oh, this is good. I can use this to because otherwise you'd have to make 1 billion Gmail accounts or something, one for each thing, which is a total hellspace. No, I mean, it's just madness, right? So this is a big save for that. I don't know if it works with Gmail, or I know the alarm one doesn't work. Okay. Julie knows what. It's cool, right? Do you use it?
I do, but I usually forget that I've used it. I'm surprised to see it.
I've totally had this where I used it for a while and then I forgot about it for years, and then it came back to me, my brain managed to get it back. And now I've used it a ton, and I'm very excited about it. Yeah. But I never tell anyone about it, but now you've got it. Okay, so this is, PDODs plus Comp Story Lab. Yeah, so Carter back in here. So this is the thing. So you go up here and you press share. So, you can now just give people these links. But what do we think? Does it work? Is there a collaborator list? Is that the problem?
It's probably people that you've collaborated with in the past.
Yeah, but that.
I just shared it with you.
Oh, okay. Oh, so with that one. Okay, yeah. If you did you just type those things and it just sort of auto-completed?
No, it didn't auto-complete.
Oh, okay.
Accepted it as a valid email.
Okay. Well, it's not.
It's not instantaneous, I guess.
It's not instantaneous, is it? So there's a note here, maybe. What do we have? I don't know where to list. I mean, we don't have to list now. Where do we have collaborators? Right. Overleaf collaborators. I don't need to do your email address online. I guess that's probably a bad, terrible thing. So I'm not really sure why it's not popping up.
It says invite not yet accepted.
I'm logged in as.
I don't know.
Did I mess that up? Maybe I'm not logged in as the right thing. Oh, here it is. Weird. Okay, cool. And then that was good. And then if I go here, I'm going to try. I see what you have. So I'll just see if this. Yeah. So I had to be specific about it. Yeah. Okay. So that should be good, and then you should have an accept thing as well.
Yes.
Instruction number 2, when you just say deploy via GitHub, you just mean cloning into whatever.
Yeah, I think that's what I mean. Yeah. So there's the weird thing where you bring it down and mess with it a little bit, and then put it on Overleaf, but then you can clone it from there too.
Right, because then that's what I was thinking. Put it on Overleaf, then you can also put it on make your own link to your own GitHub repository.
Yeah, but once it's here, this is what you want to do. You want to go to menu. See menu here? There's a Git.
Right.
That's so you work with Overleaf. Use Git to access Overleaf. Yes, not Git. not GitHub or GitLab anymore. Right. So there's my crazy thing. You bring that down, mess with it a little bit, put on Overleaf, and now you can make a Git connection, which I think is nice.
Yeah, is it possible to like make like a template of Overleaf, or I guess that would be enough?
It reminds me of flypaper from my childhood. But go on. Yeah. Sorry. That was weird. So, what do you? Hold on. Let's get this right. What do you see?
No, because before I was thinking like when you clone this thing, you make a template directly from each clone of the template. No, the template you can like what you're saying.
Oh, you just store that.
Yeah,
that thing.
And you make from that you make all the repositories.
I mean, what I do locally. So what I do locally, right, is I'm in a new directory. I make a directory, and then I shouldn't do it here, but I'd make a new directory, go into it, and then I just do copy -r, GitHub, universal. Like it's there, right? Because it's on my own system. So I just go and bring that across. Yeah. I managed to get it updated the other day. I mean, what is it? What is the thing now? It's not a password anymore. They use a token.
Oh yeah, the big GitHub token.
I couldn't. I had it written down. I mean, I stored somewhere and it wouldn't work. And I guess eventually understood that it had expired or something. So anyway, I was mad at GitHub for a while because I'm like, I can't work it. And I remember you had trouble. I'm like, I want to put it on GitLab.
You upload this template to Overleaf, and then you clone that. That's going to be in another directory, right?
Yeah, and it'll have a horrible. Well, let's do it. It's going to have a horrible. So what I would do with that is like, okay, so here it is. Boom, let's do it. Here's a filthy thing, and we would do it here. Let's see if I mean, just terrible. Also, it's taking forever, which makes no sense. But okay, so here it is. It is just a horror, and so I would immediately move that into the, O3 blah blah blah.
Oh, then you
just rename it, because once you go into it, like here it is. It's all good in there. But I mean, I hope it's okay. This is filthy. I mean, they've got to do something. I understand it, but
so then you would move
good God.
The original directory you created, the bigger directory.
Yeah, I guess you could just delete that one, and so now you've got one. It's a little bit of a kludge, right? But now you've got one that's hooked up to Overleaf. Yeah. The problem is you can't do any shell script stuff inside Overleaf,
right?
Which would really be nice, because just a few little things like that. Of course, no one really wants to do that, but it is true. Sometimes you come along and you want to change the name of the thing, and that's a little, my own system. I'll have to change a little bit and mess around with it, but that's okay. You're like, because you're.
Yeah, it makes sense. I just want to make sure I was understanding that.
Oh no, it's totally fine. What I mean is like you'll learn. You thought you were writing this paper, and the kind of description you have at this top level is not great. So, sometimes you come along and like I had this paper which was like the 3 fundamental dimensions of emotion, and then then it turned out there were sort of 2. So I can't. That happens too, right? We end up with a directory is like it's not the right thing. Yeah. Okay. So you change these things. So yeah, again, this is sitting in. I like this. I mean, I can't tell you what to do, but this is papers, categories.
What's in top secret?
Oh no, I don't know. That sounds really bad, doesn't it? I know what that is actually, but I wonder. Oh, you know what? I'll tell you what this was. Okay, this is when I used to. God, that was brave. I suppose that was brave. So no, it's when I used to use on the iPad. There's a PDF viewer, which has got a what is it called again? It was pretty good. I've forgotten the name of it, but it was one you could write on papers and stuff, right? So I had all of the PDFs like this, like 3,000. I had them all synced to it, and that little thing there was syncing ones that I wanted to edit, but didn't want to go on to Zoo, be open to everyone. So some of those are editable things. The henhouse one, I know what that is. That's weird. That's a bike box. And the reason I wanted that because I wanted the PDF on my phone so that when I went to the airport, I could show them that it was the right dimensions, and they wouldn't charge me more money. So it was a total hack to get some things onto my phone, which is completely changed now because of the phone. You know, like if you use Apple, like the um, iCloud stuff is much better. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's much better. Like, by the way, you know, this funny. Look at you! You went straight at that. Oh my god, such a dangerous thing to do. So, what was I going to say? This. Yeah, I mean, look, it's structured, right? There's the history of this thing, and then if I, look at something older, like sociology, you can see this is stuff that we did at Columbia, right? I started to kind of have these names for these things back here. Took us a little while to get going. And sort of stopped calling it sociology after a while because it became stories. And then there's a whole bunch of stuff in here which is also psychology. So psychology became the better framing, and then it became stories and language, which is personally sort of an interesting history. So these all could have no dates on them and just be alphabetically ordered. But alphabetical ordering makes no sense, right? I mean, there's a little bit where the front end helps, but it is general. And the there were wars about this, like not wars, but intellectual wars about this. How do you store knowledge, right? The ABCdarians were pilloried for like why would you make an encyclopedia that's alphabetical? It's terrible. Of course, we can all use it. That's helpful, but it's not the way knowledge should be sorted out. I guess I wanted to add to that is something like Google Drive. I mean, you use that? It just seems like a mess to me. Like I don't like it. Just it's like it's a big bag of holding. You're like
It's used for like one-off
it's okay.
things.
No, it's easy to use, but I just like it seems like I see these things and they're just like a structuralist mess.
We have like a bunch of metadata to like our video data in like Google Drive. It's like people create stuff in Google Drive, or computers create stuff in like our cloud, so you can like attach the two by date essentially. And if you reorganize like your Google Drive, it doesn't change like the path of the
Okay.
document. So you could like still link them and like change whatever you want Google Drive, and it doesn't like change the path. And I'm assuming that's why hyperlinks work going back, but it's super useful in that case.
Yeah. So I mean, in a Unix system, symbolic links are the thing.
There's like one depth of like everything is a file essentially, and it never changes the name, but it always
That's right. I mean, they're all pointers, and so like if you look in the language directory, some of these are all papers. Not most of these don't exist, but this one points out to patterns, right? The original thing was in patterns, and then it's like, okay, I'll put it in language, or I'll have a cross link there. There aren't too many here, but there are a few. Okay. So a little bit of success. So you understand? Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to understand like that.
I know it's a bit.
Let's spend enough time playing with the computer to get it to do what you want. But the bigger problem is like making sure you're understanding what you want to do.
Well, I mean, this is good. I mean, Overleaf it's matured enough, and now this is a nice thing. We have a I'm excited about this is your project, right? You're writing papers. I think this is what we should do. I know, and I will keep taking vitamin D so I can function properly. Yeah, there's a little if you. Like you could just do ls star zip star, you'd find it. But there's a make. It's here. So in that make little make set, it has one job, right? It's this little thing here. This one, and I curate a little bit, so because zip is a bit of a funny command. Like it tends to not update things by default. It's more of an asyncy kind of thing, so it won't. But I wanted something more like tar that just goes just writes it all over again. Because if you've screwed up, so again, it's just to see what's in it. It's and I'm not some great coder or anything at all, but I try to have little clean things. Yeah, that means write over again. I think exclude a couple of files. Don't put itself in itself. Lots of bad things happen, and this is the out file's name, and basically says everything else, and then some directory material. So this is a bit of a funny thing. This is where figures go, and this is if you've got scripts that are creating numbers, right? So let's say the average happiness of the text is blah. You can hard code that in, or you can set it up so that a figure gets written to a little text file, and then in settings you basically define a command which reads that text file in, and that's how it works. So if you want to do that, so it makes it one big contraption that you've got all this stuff doing analysis, and you don't have to go through and change all of the things. So I did, I've done that for which we'll get to this Trump stories paper, for example. There's so many things in there which are actually variables, right, in the actual document. Like even the end date of the Twitter study, that's it's last Twitter, / last Twitter date / Trump mean happiness / Biden mean happiness. So you don't have to. I mean, horrible, right? To have to go in and find them all and change them based on some new analysis. You can't be doing that. Yep.
With papers, do they need to be say, since I started doing community stuff, does it need to be about community?
I mean, I kind of hope, it's there.
Yeah, it is there. No,
but the thing is, if you want to write other papers, let's do that too. You talked about some other things.
But we can do it all. I mean, I was just wondering,
let's write more papers.
Yeah, more papers. And then also, this is
First of all, community's fantastic. So
I agree.
it deserves this. Plus, Dan Harmon's a story guy, right? That's his big thing. It's and he has an idea of how stories work. Have you seen that? The circle thing?
I mean, and that's how he chooses all these
things. Yeah. So and it doesn't mean it's right, but he has a theory, and it's interesting. It's worth really. I mean, obviously, he has produced some amazing things. By the way, I just want to say conspiracy theories and interior design. The one where there's Professor Professorson. There's a sort of it's about just an amazing 22 minutes of television, which you can just watch if you've never watched Community. Just watch that one by itself. Also, the Contagion one, epidemiology, just incredible. It's just ridiculous that it's in 22 minutes. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
The conspiracy theory thing is.
All the paintball ones are so. They get progressively more absurd.
Sorry, it's so amazing.
No, that if you look at the course name, when it says CS 295, it says for undergraduates only. The 10 spots that are 395 are for grad students, but those are the only 10 spots for grad students.
Well, we'll see if we can change it. Yeah.
I just wanted to
send an email. Just can you message Danforth? Message.
That's because I was like, I know 13 people that want to take
this course. Yeah. Well, let's get that sorted out.
And I was like 20 undergrads. I was like, yeah, they matter, but not as much as us.
Don't make a biz class for undergrads that high level. It should be like 100 level, just data.
No, we need a mixture. We need a mixture.
No, that's what 187 is for. 187 and 8. Data science, intermediate data science is what it's about.
Yeah. No, yeah.
April 11th. I've been stressing about this really hard.
Okay, you guys should collude yourselves on this. Yeah. I'm sorry, man. We wanted that. Well, just about that course, we wanted that. We wanted a course like it for years.
Right, and I know there's been a lot of conversation about so many people are excited about that. So I was like, great, we should preemptively get more seats for it.
But I also want to maybe you guys can, if you're in it, just take it easy on because it's a new person teaching something from scratch, and everything looks good on paper, but yeah, right, yeah. I mean, you guys are good. It's not right, but I mean, the problem is I'm just worried like your expectations are so high. Like,
As long as they don't force a flying library on us, then I'm all for it.
well, that's. I mean, this has been the horrible problem of the whole thing. Like 2008, we would be trying to teach you how to use Flash or something. I mean, we really would have been, and we knew like.
It's changed pretty quick.
Yeah, our music lab experiment had like Flash was part of the, like it was a Flash player, like it did, like the little thing that came up. Gone, right? D3, fantastic, but super hard. Like the
D5 is cool too.
D5. What is D5?
It's like processing. So
Oh, processing.
yeah.
Yeah. The MIT. Yeah. Sure. Right. Which early on was a big deal. It was around.
It's like less cool, but still pretty cool.
Observable HQ was another one.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's a bit of a moving target. God damn it. Anyway, so all right. I know we've. So do we feel like make these things exist? And just in terms of paper, I mean, I have this piece on my site about the hierarchy of narrative hierarchy, right? It's kind of hard work at all scales, right? The title's very hard, often something you finish really at the end. Abstract's a hard thing. Logline, which is somewhere in between, which I like to have. I like to say we have loglines, which is a movie thing, right? You see that for something like PNAS, they have what do they call it? Something like impact statement or something. It's pretty weird because there's abstract and then there's this other thing, which is shorter. I think it's good. Right. Also, when you write these things, when you write papers, and this is, I'm going to say this, no question mark titles, right? Like this is not a mystery. And everyone does this. They think this is the greatest thing in the world, but they basically, it's clickbait. This is sort of an ancient technique, I don't know, like whatever, like, are antibiotics good for you? Question mark. And that's it, right? That's the title, right? And you're like, you should tell us. You should do what you can in the title to tell people what's going on. All right. I know we're kind of running out of time now, which is what we are. So I will sort of write that into something here. I think I could spend just a few minutes of really making some sort of statements about the end of this. Let's do that, right? So I know we've explored this a fair bit. There's this extra work, which is actually kind of playing around with this, started the whole Ousiometric thing off, or what became Ousiometrics, which is this data set we have where we ask people, I'm still working on this, because you can see I've tried to make the graphs, but this is the data set's about 10 years old. And so we went on Mechanical Turk, and instead of doing the happiness thing, we said, okay, here are words, same idea, but we're going to ask you what you think of them in the 6 putative emotional dimensions. So happiness is the only positive one. Surprise, I know I've talked about this, right? It's the facial ones. And then these 4 negative ones: sadness, fear, anger, and disgust. So we presented those to people, and I know I mentioned at the end of the hedonimeter stuff, right? So things like beans are not terrifying to people, death is, and so on. So we can do one of these sort of analyses with these, and what it does seem, this doesn't map into the power danger structure thing exactly, right? Because the negative emotions are all about danger. So there are these more highly resolved. But these are the sort of 2 most dominant pieces. And in a way, what comes out is essentially, this graph will change, but of these 6 dimensions, there's really sort of these really dominant 2 dimensions. There's really this 2-dimensional plane which really dominates it. And basically, it's valence. It's like wow. These labels, I think, are wrong. So it's because I've got danger. This is valence, right? So there's sort of they're sort of combined in here. So there's like badness up here and goodness this way, right? So joy is at this end, war is at this end. These are the first 2 singular dimensions. And then this is kind of a power sort of thing. Anyway, there are different ways to play around with the SVD here that I think have to do. But it does sort of pop out like this. Part of the problem is we don't have a semantic differential kind of structure anymore. We just have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. They're all in a pot. You're in sort of a corner cube in 6 dimensions, or like a little box like this. So none of the the happiness can only be positive, danger can disgust can only be positive. There's no sort of opposite thing, but it does generally line up. There's this one big dimension of good to bad, and then there's sort of an intensity dimension this way. But then just to sort of summarize what happens is in the next dimensions, they are these kind of little tweaks which modify the negative, right? So it could be more like a hate kind of thing, or pure sadness, or pure fear, and just they're little modifiers like that. But all of this kind of comes down to saying that if you look at individual words and try to score them, they are by themselves not very good at distinguishing negative things. So if we make an instrument for all of these time series for happy, surprise, sad, disgust, anger, fear, if we make time series for them, the happiness one will look something, and the surprise one will look a bit different, but those other 4 will basically all look the same. Disgust goes up for rotten. There are some words that kind of disambiguate, but it doesn't at this level of a lexical meter distinguish them. And I think that's okay. That's okay. It is a crude instrument. It is a crude instrument. So you need to have words put together. You need to have people communicate things properly, and maybe facial expressions to really get those things out. Okay. All right. So we can summarize this. So this is a crazy thing. I mean, the powered angel structure thing has emerged in distinct settings. We can kind of map it into these other ones, like even Dungeons and Dragons. Chipola's theory of human stupidity. It works for types and tokens, right? So it's a very important part of this. And this safety bias, and I don't know if there's maybe it's a low danger bias is maybe another way to say that in a more helpful way. Low danger bias. Because people will misinterpret whatever you say. But anyway, so this sort of low danger bias of communication is a different thing to Pollyanna, which is everything's positive, right? Or there's more positive than negative. Words are more often safe than low danger than dangerous, and that this happiness thing is then a projection of that, and it's a shadow of it. So happiness is then power plus safety, right? So safe power, and it's not just happiness; it's wisdom. There are all these sorts of good things in that sort of southeast corner. Ousiometrics we can improve and work with it. You guys you'll play with it next. And then, so just as I said, these sort of emotions map onto this sort of, like happiness is kind of the powerful safe axis down here, and then all the negative ones kind of pile up in the danger axis, and then the intensity pushes you away. You could say this is all about survival, right? There's a power, like in some ways, okay, so here's you could say maybe life, we have all these weird definitions of life, right? Like people argue about Jim Lovelock, I think. Something's alive if it's entropy reducing. Everyone loved information theory, right? Even though Shannon said, don't stop it, like in 1952, like this paper called The Bandwagon, it's like, guys need to calm down. Have you seen that? Okay, I want to show you something else about him too. Did you see that? So he's the bandwagon. This is 1956, and he's like, "Hey, you guys need to cool it with the whole information theory thing. It's cool, but anyway." So
The use of a few exciting words like information, entropy, and redundancy do not solve that.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, a journal has been created by this point. Like at least one. Where did you read that? Where did you read?
Bottom of the first column.
Amazing. But entropy sounds awesome. Information is such a problematic term. It is absolutely terrible because it just feels like you're really doing something much like meaning. It connotes meaning, and it's not that. Like as he said in his thing, it's just this is an engineering thing. How do we? Yeah, yeah, there it is. Right. We must keep our own house in order. Right. It's been sold, if not oversold. Right. Right. Business of research. Like let's yeah. Well, it just kept going crazy. But that's a funny one. And I
Did it help? Like,
no.
did people?
It took me years to even hear of that myself. It's like, yeah. Well, let's see how much that's been cited. Claude Shannon. Did someone make one for him? He's sort of not that famous, which is interesting. 361 citations. I mean,
For him, that seems like not that many because I'm sure his other papers have a lot.
is it 1948? I think. Yeah. So that was 139,000. Sorry, that's really nuts. Wow. 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 Okay, let's get to that one. Well, it's a good question. He obviously it doesn't say that. Will this work? No. How do I do this? Do I have to go to Twitter? I thought I was trying to.
I forget how I just saw it via the Slack.
I don't want to look in my tweets because they're horrible. So it's Shannon Hubbard. Come on, you gotta do it. I want to get this person's tweet because that was the original one. I want to see something nuts. So anyway, McCullough, this is JPL, and there's a whole other bunch of stuff there. Like Alistair Crowley is connected into some of this in terms of people thinking about things. So there's like a huge, all this sort of has some weird. This is not. I'm not saying that Shannon, but there's some weirdness there. There's.
Also, I love that Shannon's running to him from Old Lyme, Connecticut. It's like 30 minutes from my house.
I guess yeah.
Where Lyme disease started.
Right. It would become very famous. It's just weird. He's like hypnotic technique for yeah. Anyway, but he's like he backs up a little bit there, but and it's true. I mean, L. Ron Hubbard's very incredibly famous sci-fi writer. I mean, like Asimov sort of level, in the 40s, and it's famously said you can make money in religion.
And then start the religion.
You realize the storytelling. Yeah. So, and right. So Warren McCullough's a major part of cybernetics. And this is what this Telegnomics for Stories is what we're trying to do here. And then just to keep going with Shannon, like this is a sort of a complement to information theory, right? Which is meaning free. Like with this, and I guess what I want to speculate here about life is, life. You could say that this thing is alive if it consents this power and danger kind of structure. Like you can, I'm just going to say, right? If it can sense it it can meaningfully sense it in a way that it might be able to react. It doesn't mean react well or helpfully or whatever, but it comes in and an amoeba or whatever. There's danger, right? And it goes away, whatever it is. So in that sense, it's sort of alive. Stories are kind of interesting that way because they need to be attached to people, which of course is fair. But I'm not sure about AI. What's that? I mean, it has a rudimentary, detection of danger, right? Which is pretty important. Like, can it keep itself going? I mean, people want to say, well, it has to respire or reproduce, because it's which is very us kind of thing, But it should.
Even that thing is reproducing, right? Just not in the traditional.
Within a bigger system, it's reproduced.
Right.
Yeah.
Certainly that counts.
Right. There's we think about our DNA being like fixed up by little fixer-uppers. Like we're kind of happy with that and all the bacteria or whatever, but that's sort of happening at that bigger scale.
So food delivering bodies alive.
I'm sure you have a meaningful relationship with it as well, right? It's like
They exist at some schools. They've got 6 wheels and like short caterpillars.
They sound cute.
that sounds pretty good.
There's a good video of one like filling a sense like a hole and just like it's a deep hole. It's a deep hole. It falls in, you hear the alarm go off, and you're like,
There are different levels of being alive. Yeah, that's not a. Oh, but it has an alarm. It says I'm in trouble.
It's like on like the basis of metaphysics and all the eyes. It's like basically being like, no, there's something different about humans. Like that's really at the end of the day, like that's what they're all wanting to say.
It's total garbage.
There's literally.
Have you met humans? You know, have you met humans? Also octopuses.
We fall into the hole all the time. Like,
Yeah, right.
Not by like the property of being human, but by the property of being able to have rational thought.
oh, but then there's a lot of people who aren't human, which is.
Well, first of all, dolphins have humanity now.
But also, like, if you have a traumatic brain injury and you're in a coma,
Yep, you have no reason to treat them wrong. And that's like what Christine Korsgaard wants to say.
that's fucked.
Yeah, and it also means like there's like aliens, right? They come down, they have humanity. We need to treat them morally now. Like that, like you're committed to this now. And I'm not saying you're wrong, but like it's just a very strange framing.
I would say that's wrong because the person in the coma should definitely be treated like a human.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm saying like the alien, like maybe we should treat aliens. What I'm saying is maybe we should treat aliens and other things like humans. But like I don't know, I read the paper and I was like, this isn't the part we're gonna analyze, but this is crazy.
That's wild.
And also, let's say a person was like value. The way it works is that if you value it, valuable done. I was like, whoa, I don't like this.
If you value, that's interesting. Yeah.
The value is compared to color, same thing, right? Like, we can say that you have values, but that's about as much as we can characterize them. Sure. Yeah. Sorry, this is a.
Oh no, it's a gift for bad actors as well. All of this, right? I mean, it's such a gift. It's like, sure, you have this. You worry about all this, and I'll just also invade your country, whatever. There has to be some.
Like other thing.
Well, yeah. The human, we're obviously sort of the dominant thing, but we're not particular. Pretty stupid.
Right.
Pretty stupid, especially in large groups. You know, I mean, this has been a big feature of what we talk. You know, like, wow. I wanted to that. This is one of these dangerous things where it's gone on to something else. But what I was trying to show you was this, which is just fabulous.
there's some good videos.
Yes, a perambulating octopus. Look at that.
And they're like asking kids questions, and they're like, "Oh, where's Canada?" And the kids point to like Russia. It's like,
Oh, this is not. You're good at this, right? Like, but you're an anomaly. You actually know where things are. And it's stuck. And the shapes. So world will every time?
I wouldn't say every time.
There's probably some things, right? Yeah.
Some islands.
Yeah.
And then there's like the world has territories.
Oh yeah. Which is the first one I saw was Svalbard, which I was excited about. Yeah.
That's from his material.
Yes. God, I could have gone to a conference there years ago. Damn it! I can't believe I didn't do that. Anyway, but no, that's fun. Yeah, right. Some people don't even know where anything is. Right. That's pretty weird.
I don't know where anything is.
That's fine. But that's
I don't know where Canada was, but like, let's
It's upstairs.
go further and I won't.
But it's a US kind of thing. It's a US thing.
Cardinal directions. I feel like as long as you can you know where.
A lot of people don't have trouble with that. Like which way is north? You know, you ask me which way is north.
The lake, so it just makes it easy.
No, but a lot of people. I don't know. I don't know if people will know. You'd have to spend a little time, given where you are physically at any point. Like if you're in that building or this. Oh, people who grew up in. Oh,
Yeah, I feel like I just saw that public assembly.
oh, I missed that. Yeah. So people grew up in rural areas.
That's impossible.
Yeah.
Less structure.
I mean, I remember learning which way north was, and it was all pretty.
They're always there.
Because outside, just that's it.
I don't know where the lake is. I know where.
Right.
Yeah, totally. I have a picture like the campus map.
Yeah.
I just find the lake and then go never eat soggy waffles. Like
I've never heard that, but that's amazing.
That's just.
Although I think it depends if it's maple syrup.
3 months. Yeah.
I'm not sure about that.
Woods, like living there, and then that's how I still know the cardinal directions. Is I find something I'm like, that's in this direction. Done. So easy.
But that kind of knowledge is rare. That I mean, Australia, you would learn because the world is big, right? Like, yeah, and so, but there's a lot of the U.S. has got a lot going on, so you can kind of understand a little bit that there's just a lot to talk about here. But Australia, you talk about other places, like there's England, there's Europe, there's whatever. Then there's cricket, so you know about India or Pakistan.
But even for like cardinal directions, like people when they go hiking here, like if you're not spending a lot of time in the background, you don't need to know the stuff. You're just following like really well-defined trails.
Yeah.
This is Vermont, right? Like,
Yeah. In the winter, it can be tricky.
Yeah, for sure. No, but you're talking about backcountry skiing.
I mean, I actually did I haven't done it for a while, but I would do backcountry snowshoe running in Bolton in particular. Running. Yeah, it's really great. In Bolton, and be the only person doing this, of course, but the Heavenly Highway area, that's pretty confusing. It's kind of enjoyable to get lost in there. You feel like you're going to survive. But if you go into the back of that, get a little. So this is what I did there years ago. It was terrible kind of conditions. I went down this sort of steep thing into whatever that Cotton Brook thing is, and then I thought I was coming back out like way over there, but I actually came back the same. I realized I came back up the same place at some point, so I heffalump myself, and then it happened like 3 years later where I did the same thing, and as I did it, I realized I've done this before, because it's like a whiteout, and you're just like completely confused. Stupid. Yeah, so humans are stupid. I think that's really kind of an important default. They do amazing things, but
Said that half the world's population is dumber than the average person.
well, so that's there's a Carlin, right? Isn't that who said that? Well, okay, there are two things. I think it's who's that? Well, that's what I wanted to say because it's thank you. Below the median.
Actually, I heard this up the other day. Again, the same philosophy class is really weird.
Below the median. It's a tough one.
But like, my professor was like, yeah, the average was really low, just to let you guys know, like for this essay that we turned in. And I was like, yeah, I don't care. Maybe that means one person did bad. I was like, tell us about the median. And he was like, what do you mean?
Oh, no.
And I was like, oh, God. Skew this.
We want a distribution. All right.